Hi, Hannah. I wanted to make this video just to help guide you through the test out resource in our class and just make sure that I can help with any questions you have regarding that and how to navigate through that. Um, so I'm logged in here to our MIC 145 class, and I'm going to go ahead and click Content. Here we go. And we are on week 4 this week, but you'll notice that each week, I'll take week 1, is set up such that we have units that we cover each week. So in week 1, for instance, we had unit 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 to cover. Within each of these units are graded assignments, and you can see down here are a list of the graded lab assignments. All of these items are what you need to be receiving a grade for in week 1. So if you need to skip to just a graded item, the links are down here. If you go through the units one by one, it will also guide you through to the graded assignments. So for instance, if I go ahead and click on unit 4.1 here, it's going to start me at the beginning of the unit, at the very beginning. And it's got some notes here. It will have some videos and some practice and some other resources to use in learning what we need to learn for this unit. Then you can see, if you click through it, it will bring you to unit 4.2. You'll see up top here, and it'll bring you through that in order. And then in 4.2, it will then bring you, as you click through, to the graded document as well, which is the skills lab and the challenge lab. You can use these arrows to navigate through the units. So if you need to go to a lab, just go ahead and arrow to that lab. Some other ways to get around test out that will be helpful for you. I'm going to go ahead and go back to week 1 to show you. If you just needed to go to 4.2, if you click on 4.2 within Brightspace, it will bring you to 4.2 and the beginning of it. And again, you can go through it or just go ahead and click all the way to the lab. What's neat is you can always go backwards. If you forgot how to do something in the lab, you can press the backwards arrow and go back to that area in the resources to review how to do that item. Okay, so that is the getting around the units for each week. The lab assignments work much the same. So for instance, if you click on a lab assignment, it will bring you right to that lab assignment. For you, I noticed that you have a grade for the 4.2.7 skills lab, but you do not have a grade for other items in this unit. The 4.2.8 challenge lab does not have a grade. What else? The 4.2.10 does not have a grade for you. And there's several other items that don't have grades. You do have a grade, though, for 4.5.5, which is in the next week. So my feeling is that maybe you were a bit behind and moved ahead, which is okay. But in this class, it is okay to go back to missed items in previous weeks to complete them, and you will get your full credit. I do suggest doing this because in week 4 this week, I'll go ahead and click there, there's a test, a word end of chapter exam. That will be hard to do well on that unless you have done the previous units. There we go. All right, so I highly suggest that you go back and you start completing some of those items you don't have finished. If you need to know which items you have finished, go ahead and go to the grade book. So for this, I'll go ahead and view this as a student. My view is still a little bit different because I'm the instructor, but you should be able to go under the assessments area and go to your grades. And in your grades area, all of the assignments are listed, and you should be able to kind of see which ones are missing. So like you probably won't see a score for 4.2.8. I can see here that I got a 0% because I went ahead and went through 4.2.8 and I did not get any correct. So it gave me a 0%. But again, you can see if there's not a score there, that means it's missing. If there is a score there, then that is your score. You can redo items for a better score, but I highly suggest you do not redo any items until you get caught up. Yeah, the other thing I must really mention is that this class is built that you're spending 3 to 9 hours a week on Microsoft Office topics. You know, you will have a good understanding of Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access at the end of this course, and that's going to require 3 to 9 hours of work each week on the labs. If you have not been spending that amount of time, start penciling in your schedule that amount of time and maybe make sure you put in a little extra to get caught up. If you don't, you know, you risk not being able to complete items by the end of the term and not passing the course. So please be sure to do that. One last note here, I'm going to go back to content, and I want to make sure that you are, when you're completing your labs, that you are clicking the score lab at the end of the labs. So for instance, when I went to the 4.2.8 challenge lab here, when I finished it, I need to make sure I click start to start the lab, but when I finish it, I absolutely need to make sure that I click score the lab. From what I've seen, this program is really pretty good about syncing your grades to the grade book. So as long as you click score lab. So I'm going to go ahead and click score lab, and that's why I got a 0, because I clicked score lab and I hadn't done anything. It's giving me a 0. But just make sure you're clicking that score lab after each, and then make sure that you are checking over your grade book to make sure that your grades are showing up in your grade book. So that's super important that you're checking in on your grades. One last note about your grades is that this program's set up to pretty much instantly sync your grade over, but sometimes it can take a little bit of time, but it should be synced within about 24 hours. If you're not seeing a score there, talk to me. I have a manual grade syncing process that I do every day. And I will look into it for you if you feel like you're missing a grade, because I have kind of a backup system with all of your progress and can check that and make sure it's showing up in the grade book. So make sure you're checking over here to make sure you're getting stuff in. Like I said, you may feel like you got something complete, but if there's not a grade assigned over there, it is not complete. With that, please let me know if you have questions. Thanks.